Chapter 16. Back to reality. Ace headquarters. Sleeping area. Jameson wakes up and opens his eyes, startled and bewildered. What? Where? He is stretched out on his camp bed in the sleeping quarters. He tries to sit up and is greeted by a throbbing pain in his head.
Jesus,
he says, grimacing. He holds his head in his hands.
Go easy,
says a soft, feminine voice.
You bumped your head on the way down.
Jameson looks up to see Penny, standing by his bedside, anxiously staring down at him.
I fainted? Went down like a sack of rancid GM potatoes,
comes another voice. Jameson locates the source at the foot of his bed. It is Ace.
My father?
All the recent memories and revelations flood back into Jameson's mind.
Well, he's alive. I'm going to bed,
Ace says to Penny. He turns to leave.
Hey, wait a minute,
Jameson says, and tries to sit up again. This time with a certain degree of groaning, he succeeds.
Can someone tell me what the hell is going on around here?
We succeeded in our mission. We got back, we had your initiation ceremony, and then you fainted. Like a little sissy bitch fart.
Jameson looks affronted.
Excuse me, I just found out I'd been an accomplice to murder. That the police now consider me a terrorist and are in the process of hunting me down. Oh, and what was that other small detail that was revealed to me? Oh yeah, you're my long-lost father, and I have 21
Two.
Penny corrects him.
22 brothers and sisters I never even knew I had.
Well, that's the thing.
Penny says, looking very demure. Jameson just stares at her in anticipation.
You don't.
I don't?
It was just a goof.
Ace blurts, throwing his hands up in the air.
What?
Jameson says, looking exasperated.
You know, a joke, a gag, a trick, a prank.
Are you shitting me?
Jameson says, becoming irked, looking from Ace to Penny.
Ace is not your father.
Penny says, softly shaking her head.
I'm not your sister, and...
Well, are you sure? I never knew my real father. My
Jameson looks Ace up and down.
biological father, that is.
Archer, he's not your dad. But the part about me and my brother, that's true.
And the rest of them?
Of course they're not all my children. I may be a paragon of.
Ace alters his voice to that of Sean Connery.
She is sexiness.
But 22 children?
Jameson huffs for a moment.
There is also one other. My elder brother, Tafari.
Hey, how are you doing?
Comes a voice from beside Jameson. He whips his head around to find the young man who had met him at the airport, lying on the camp bed next to him. Until now, Jameson hadn't noticed him.
Hey, don't take this the wrong way,
He says, raising a hand.
but I'm assuming you're a brother from another mother, sort of thing?
Well, fuck my Uncle Barbara.
Ace says, rejoicing.
The powers of deduction. Kid, is there no end to your talents?
Penny can't help but giggle.
Oh, this is all hilarious to you, is it?
Jameson says, turning to her.
You will have to forgive her, Archer. She inherited our father's sense of humor.
I see. And you?
Jameson says, turning to Tafari.
Oh, I have my mother's sense of humor. It is subtle,
Tafari turns to Ace, addressing him now.
but it's kinder. No, I inherited something else from my father.
Something else?
Yes, his madness.
Ace just sighs and looks into his son's eyes, wounded. He drops his gaze and looks down at the ground. The younger brother enters the sleeping quarters and hurries towards them. Ace outstretches his arm, and they warmly embrace.
You've met my younger brother already.
Ah, yes.
Jameson smiles.
I knew he was a whiz in the kitchen, but I never did catch his name.
The boy looks to Penny, worried.
This is Paul.
Penny says, gazing at her brother, smiling and nodding, reassuringly. Paul smiles at Jameson.
Your mother? She is here too?
Paul's smile drops and he looks up at his father, who again looks wounded. Ace looks down at his son tenderly and smiles at him to comfort him.
No, she is not here.
Oh,
Jameson says softly, realizing the change in atmosphere. He turns to Tafari.
and your mother?
Tafari looks blankly at Jameson and says nothing.
Tafari's mother
Ace says, breaking the silence.
is a princess.
Jameson lets out a dry, rasping laugh.
Here we go again! A princess! Of course she is. And my mother is a fairy.
Jameson turns to Ace.
And I suppose you're a warlock. I'm an elf, obviously.
He turns to Penny.
And what do you want to be? In this prank archer fantasy world of fun? A mermaid?
Jameson begins to yell and seems to be addressing the ceiling now.
I can't tell what's real, what's the truth, who you are, who I am, what's going on, or where all this craziness is leading to anymore.
Everyone is silent and motionless, apart from Jameson breathing heavily. Ace and Penny cannot help but burst into laughter. Paul looks slightly lost. Tafari and Jameson are not amused. But Jameson soon folds to the absurdity of it all and laughs too, hard.
Well, what do you know?
Ace says to Jameson with a sparkle in his eye.
A sense of humor after all.
Jameson looks up at Ace.
For a very freaky while there, I thought we were...
Ace shakes his head.
We're not related, kid.
Ace looks around at his children.
But we are.
He looks back at Jameson.
I wasn't kidding when I said, welcome to the family. This is my family. And I fight to protect them as much as I fight for the animals.
We all fight for what is most sacred to us.
Well,
Tafari says, getting up onto his feet.
we all fight,
He approaches Ace.
but for different reasons. Is that not right, Dad?
Ace looks taken aback.
We fight for the same thing.
He says, huskily. They gaze into each other's eyes for a moment.
I haven't forgotten my promise to you. Tafari, my son.
Ace says softly. He reaches out his hand. Tafari looks at it for a moment. He reaches out and they hold each other's hand tightly. Jameson, rendered curious, watches them, touched by the intricate bond between these people.
Tafari. It's a peculiar name.
It's African.
Ace says proudly.
What does it mean?
It means he who inspires awe.
Tafari mocks. Penny smiles.
And it does.
Ace says sincerely.
Every day we are together.
Again, Jameson is humbled to witness such a tender moment. Then Tafari spits in his father's face. A giant glob of saliva splashes across Ace's cheek and into his eye. Jameson is surprised by this sudden hostile change in behaviour, but he is even more surprised by everyone's reaction, or lack of reaction. In fact, everyone begins to smile warmly, including Ace, who wipes a globule of spittle from his eye socket.
Well, you haven't done that in a long time. I'm just gonna make an assumption here and say, I love you too, son.
Good night, everyone.
Tafari says, and turns to a gobsmacked Jameson.
Big day tomorrow, huh? I am so jealous.
Jameson shakes his head.
Big day?
See you in the morning.
Tafari says, heading for the exit. Jameson shrugs.
Anyone care to elaborate on what just happened there?
Believe it or not, in the village where he was raised, spitting in someone's face is a sign of affection.
I guess old habits die hard.
Ace says, wiping his hand on his shirt.
I owe him one.
Are we having supper before bed?
Ooh, what's on the menu tonight?
Leftover broth.
Ace smiles.
Yummy.
He gives Jameson a quick glance.
Join us.
Thanks, but I think I'm just going to turn in. I've had enough excitement for one day.
Paul looks disappointed. He glances at Penny.
I'll be right there.
Jameson watches Ace and Paul make for the exit together.
So you see,
See?
that we are not the evil terrorists that the media and the authorities and that awful policeman Guerra would have the world believe. Our fight is a righteous one, despite the colourful examples my father is making.
Jameson does not answer. He understands their plight, that they believe in their cause, that they are human beings with deep connections and feelings. He is not convinced of their justification for murder. He sighs.
I just think using acts of terror, like murder, to make a statement, be it religious or political, defines you as a terrorist. I feel like a terrorist. Don't you realize that you're implicated too? An accomplice to murder too?
I'm prepared to answer for my role. I'm no stranger to consequence. But at no time will I resign myself to the label terrorist. This is a war, a spiritual war as much as a literal one, against the oppressors, those who choose exploitation and violence and can only be met with violence in return. Beakley orchestrated his company's acts of terror, like torture, experimentation leading to painful diseases and death of countless sentient beings. Not to mention the knock-on ill effects to humans from such an unsound practice? By your definition, he is a terrorist too. Or do you draw a line between humans who fight to defend humans and humans who fight to defend animals?
No, it's all wrong. I get that. But you don't. Let me say it again. It's all wrong. Two wrongs surely cannot make a right.
Penny glares at him. She seems to be fighting her emotions, fighting back words.
Sometimes justice comes from a jury. And sometimes justice comes out of the barrel of a gun. Justice can mean killing, like being a soldier or in a law enforcement agency.
Jameson gives her a wary glance.
Oh, they may dress themselves in their silly wigs and costumes and grant themselves whatever rights that suit them with their ridiculous rituals and badges. They're still killers when all is said and done. Sometimes justice does not come at all. You wait and you wait for it, and yet it does not come. Where is justice for defenseless animals? For the innocent? Or my mother? Killed by the police, no less, and she was no terrorist, no criminal. She was kind, passionate, and beautiful, and she was taken away from me forever. Where was the justice there? And now she's just ash in the wind. Another statistic. We apologize and are sorry for your loss. Now move the fuck on, like we have.
Penny gasps in a breath as tears stream down her cheeks. Jameson sits quiet.
Killing is wrong.
She says, wiping her face with both hands.
Yes?
Jameson shrugs.
Of course, but
Would you kill someone to save another? Through duty or love? Yes?
Jameson sits quiet again.
point taken.
Sometimes.
Penny says with conviction.
Two wrongs do make a right.
There is a silent pause as the two reflect on their conversation.
I'm sorry.
Hey, it's just a difference of opinion. Nothing to be sorry.
No, I mean about your mother. I'm sorry to hear that you lost her.
Penny's eyes well up again, but she fights back her tears.
Do not mention any of this to my father.
Jameson shrugs again.
Sure.
There is another silent pause.
Are you sure your head is okay? I could get you some white willow bark or devil's claw.
Jameson rubs his head, unsure of what Penny is offering.
Maybe a little weed? It's an amazing natural painkiller. Works particularly well for migraines.
Jameson just smiles, surprised.
You know how your father feels about drugs? Something about us being ready to go? A clear mind?
Penny smiles mischievously.
I won't tell if you don't.
Jameson chuckles, but then reflects on Penny's offer.
And what kind of pain are you trying to kill?
Penny's smile drops, and she looks at her feet. A quiet moment passes.
I think some sleep will help. But thanks.
Very well. Good night, Archer.
Penny says, without looking up. She begins to walk away towards the exit.
Hey, Penny,
She pauses and turns.
what did the furry mean when he said, "I'm so jealous"?
Penny looks into his eyes.
He's jealous because he hasn't been to his home country in a long time.
His home country?
Yeah, Africa.
She turns and continues walking.
I suggest you do get some sleep, Archer. Like my brother said, big day tomorrow.
Penny exits the sleeping quarters, leaving a jarred and baffled Jameson sitting alone, staring into space.